Welcome to Money, Manifestation, and Business, the podcast that shows you how to use your energy, intention, and consciousness to reprogram your money mindset, unleash a new level of possibility, and create a life and business that lights you up. I'm your host, Jamie Berman, and I invite you to join me each week for a dose of inspiration, coaching, and teachings to help you rewrite your money story, create abundance on your terms, and grow your business in a way that's fully aligned for you. This is going to be so much fun. Let's dive in. Today, we're going to talk about one of the keys to manifesting an unbelievable life. I'm so excited for this episode. I feel like it's one that you're probably going to want to save and come back to time and time again as a reminder, because it's truly one of the foundations of the manifestation process. And this episode came, and this idea came as I was reflecting on all of the years that I have manifested something that had previously felt impossible. So I've had a couple of years in my life where I've had quantum leaps, right? Where the beginning of the year looked far different than the end of the year. Like I created something pretty epic and something pretty big and something that felt like, kind of impossible at the beginning of the year. And I was looking at those instances and asking myself, what was the common thread? What did I practice? What did I do that allowed me to have a quantum leap? And that's what I'm going to be teaching you today, is what I did and what you can do if you want to create a reality that's different from where you are now. If you're ready for change, if you're ready to grow your business or your bank account, and you want to create something you've never created before. This is going to be a practice you're going to have to commit to and come back to again and again and again. But don't worry, it's going to be fun. So what is this practice? What is this key? The key to manifesting an unbelievable life is you have to stop looking at your current circumstances to determine what's possible for you. And you have to stop looking at your current situation and identifying with it and identifying with your current problems and getting lost in the weeds of what's going on right now. The more that you think about and worry about your life based upon what's going on now, higher chances of that just continuing to repeat over and over and over. You also have to stop looking at your past to determine what is possible for you, right? Stop looking at your past to determine what your goals are in your future. In order to manifest epic things and an unbelievable life, we actually have to let go of logic for a little bit while we're manifesting, at least, right? Because typically, logic is just telling us, hey, this is what we've done in the past. So we project that onto our future as if that's the only thing that's possible, or maybe a little bit of growth from there. That's typically what logic says, right? So we want to let go of that and get to the place of like, hey, what do I really want for my future? And deciding to claim what it is that you really want and letting yourself go for it. And letting yourself go for it in a way where it's just fun. It's not attached. It's not like I have to have that thing in order to be happy. It's not like I have to make that happen within a 1-year time period where you put all of this resistance onto it and attachment. That's not helpful. What I'm talking about is instead letting go of the story of your life now and letting yourself write the story of what you want to create, deciding on purpose what you want to believe, what you want for your future, what that's going to look like, right? So helpful. It makes all the difference. And again, letting go of logic, because that doesn't help. And it's not even like it's real. If you rely on logic, then, that's what you will end up probably creating. But if you let go of logic, that's probably what you'll end up creating. So I want to share a couple stories with you and how I brought this practice to life for me. And then I'm going to give you some ideas of what you can do to practice this. So when I took my business, for example, from $14,000 to $100,000, for me, that was a quantum leap. because up until that point, I had never made more than $28,000 annually. And that was me working full time. When I started my business after working full time, my first year of business, I had made $7,000. My second year of business, I made $14,000. And they're sitting there at $14,000. I knew something had to change because this was not sustainable, right? I was like, I can't just keep going through savings. I got to start making some money in this business if I want to keep this business going. And I was so freaking passionate about it. And I loved coaching so much. I was so committed to making that change. And I committed to making $100,000. That's what I wanted to make. So, did it make logical sense? Not really. My brain felt like it was going to be impossible to take my business from $14,000 to $100,000. What logic said was maybe at most you could double it again and get to 28,000. That's what logic would say. But I decided to eliminate logic and go for what felt impossible to me. And I really wanted to do it just for fun as kind of a challenge of like, well, what would it be like if I could believe something new and create something new? Right? It's like, what's the worst that can happen if I go for it? I don't get it. So what? At least I went for it, right? So I decided to claim that $100,000 goal. And I committed to the belief I'm a $100,000 earner. I'm a $100,000 CEO. And I wrote that down every single day. So I didn't wait for the evidence of being a $100,000 earner to start thinking of myself as a $100,000 earner and believing that that's who I was, right? And in fact, I had to really commit to that belief because evidence was not showing me that's who I was. I claimed it before it's who I was. And then I started becoming it and I started feeling into that version of me. So like I said, every single day I would write that belief down. And then I would ask myself, how would a $100,000 CEO show up to business today? And I would really answer that question. I would say things like, she'd get these videos recorded. She would, because I remember I was trying to create a funnel at that time. Not trying to, I was creating a funnel at that time. I created my first funnel. I was creating Facebook ads. I was like, these things are hard. They're different than what it was things that like I just wasn't good at. I had to learn so much. There was so much resistance in my brain, but I kept coming back to, but a $100,000 CEO would know how to do these and they would show up and they would commit to it and they would learn it and they would do it, even though it feels hard. And guess what happened? I became a $100,000 CEO that year because I committed to the belief. Right? Before I had it. And I decided to live into that reality before that's who I was. That's how it's done. And that's how you're going to have to practice manifesting. You have to commit to believing something new before it's there and before you have any evidence. And it's not easy. I had to manage my mind around it. I had to challenge any belief that came in that was telling me, no, you're, what are you doing? That's not true. I did challenge those beliefs, right? Because even the first quarter of that year that I committed to it, within the first quarter, I didn't even make $2,000. So it was so easy for my mind to want to reject the belief that I'm a $100,000 earner because logic was not matching up with it. It made no sense at all. My brain was like, how in the heck is that going to happen? And I would try to get into the how and into the numbers of how many clients I would have to get, but I would let go of that because that's another key to manifesting is let go of the how. You can't possibly know how this is going to happen. You can have a strategy and commit to that strategy, but it doesn't mean that strategy is going to be the how, right? So I just committed to the belief, went for it, and created it. And that's how I had a quantum leap that year, right? And again, I was thinking about whenever I manifested my condo in Maui, because the year prior to me manifesting that, I did not have the down payment for it. We were not making the income for a second mortgage. In fact, up until then, I had been manifesting moving to Maui for 2 years. prior to the year my husband told me, hey, actually, I want a second home in Maui. Because before that, we were just going to sell our LA home, use the money from that, buy a new place in Maui. But we were looking for about 2 years. We were working with a real estate agent. Like nothing was going through. Nothing felt like a yes. It felt like something would always get in the way every time we had an almost. So it just wasn't working. And then 2 years into this search and me being like so excited and manifesting it and seeing it and all of the things and kind of being impatient, which is probably why it wasn't working out. But my husband threw this idea at me that, hey, actually, I think I want a second home in Maui. And at first, I was so upset at him. I was like, Josh, no, we've already been waiting 2 years. I'm so excited to get there. It's something I'd been manifesting for what felt like the longest time. Because really, I'd been wanting this since I was 11 years old, but I had been like, we've been actively looking and desiring and dreaming and manifesting for like 2 years straight, going there often, meeting with real estate agents. And I was like, no, I'm like, but if we go for a second home, that's going to like totally take forever. We don't have the money for that. We don't have the income for a mortgage. It's just, I was so frustrated because I was like, this is going to take forever. And that's when I realized, wait a minute, Jamie, you're a manifestation queen. You are a manifestation coach. What are you doing? Why are you determining what's possible based upon logic? Because really deep down, I loved the idea. I was like, that would be awesome. We'd have, a foot in LA. So my husband can do he's a musician and he has so many connections here. And it'd be great because he loves his studio in LA. And I was thinking, and then I would get, my Maui experience and we could go back and forth and best of both worlds, really. But, my brain initially was like, that's going to take forever. What the heck, Who are we to have two homes? And I decided though that, hey, I'm going to manifest this. Like I know how to manifest. So I kind of let go of logic and I decided I'm just going to let's go for it. I was like, let's do this. And I got him on board too. I'm like, we got to get our manifestation superpowers together if this is going to happen. So I declared it. And what happens when you declare what you want and like really let yourself go for it is that the universe starts to conspire upon your behalf. Now, not always right away, just like whenever I declared my $100,000 goal. Well, the first quarter, the universe didn't look like it was conspiring upon my behalf. But if you stay committed to it, you will see that that is what happens. With Maui, the universe conspired a little quicker than I thought it would. So within a week of us just like declaring that we wanted to get a second home in Maui, Josh's lawyer gives him a call and says, hey, this is so wild. Like this has never happened, but there's an offer to, if someone wants to buy a portion of your business for X amount of money, which, what do you know, was the exact amount that we needed. Well, and more for the down payment of our Maui condo. What? Like, what? We had the offer was for even more than the amount of cash we wanted to put down for our Maui condo. What? Within a week, like that was something we didn't even know was a possibility. We didn't even know that like people buy portions of publishing. Like what? It was unreal. And it was something that we wouldn't have ever done before, but we knew we had this dream and that this dream was going to be an investment too. So we decided to go for it. And so we then had the down payment, but we didn't have enough income for a mortgage. So we just kept manifesting and I just kept having fun envisioning our second place, looking at places on Zillow, talking to real estate agents, trying to talk to people who like had a place in Maui, seeing what that was like living into the dream before it was real. And what do you know? That was the year my income started going up massively. So I took my business from $145,000 to $500,000. So I then had enough, to get a second mortgage between both of us. So it manifested within a year. Now, that's just unbelievable because Remember, that version of me was like, wait, what? I couldn't see how it could even be possible. No way could I ever know that someone would offer like Josh part of his business. Like I had no idea that could happen. I had no idea my income would go up, even though I was manifesting it, obviously. Um, it's just wild how things came together. And that's what tends to happen when you commit to a new belief and you commit to believing that you can create something that you've never created before. All right. So, as promised, I want to give you some different tips and tricks so that you can start practicing this on your own for your business, for money, whatever it is that you're manifesting. Number one, I touched on this, but decide on purpose what you want to believe, regardless of what is. So remember, thoughts become things. So what you think most often and what you believe will become, right? Just like whenever I practice believing I'm $100,000 CEO, I'm $100,000 CEO, eventually my reality caught up with it. But it always starts with belief. That's the secret to manifesting is everything starts with an intention, a belief, right? And then our beliefs create our feelings, which drive our actions and how we show up. I also think our beliefs create the synchronicities in our lives. So when we believe something's possible for us, the universe conspires upon our behalf and interesting situations start showing up, right? Like the sell, like somebody trying to buy my husband's a portion of his business. What? Right? Right when we decided to believe we can have it, we can manifest. So I'm going to encourage you to decide on purpose, what do you want to believe is possible for you? And if you think back to anyone who's ever created something epic and something new that they've never done before, it always starts with a belief. So I'm kind of obsessed with watching documentaries of people who do incredible things, whether that's like mountain climbers or people in sports or musicians. It doesn't matter. I love watching the journey and hearing the journey of someone who has done something really unbelievable. And what these people all have in common is this exact thing. They decided to believe in a future that they hadn't created before. And for many of them, they decided to believe in a future that has never been created by anyone before, right? Because a lot of times these people are doing something that's never been done before. So they have to start with their belief like, I can do it. I'm going to be the one that does it. And they commit to believing it without seeing any evidence that anyone else has done it, right? At least maybe for us, right? Maybe we're just manifesting something that other people have done before. I don't know, maybe you're not. But I just think of, and I think that's why I'm so fascinated by these people who do these incredible epic things that have never been done before, because I love watching how committed they are to their belief. Committed they are to, there's like this energy that's just like, I'm going to do this. And they lean into that energy and they don't give up. And that's what it takes to manifest something new and different. And anyone can do it. I wholeheartedly know deep in my bones, anyone can do this, which is what's so fun. And that's what I think about whenever I think about us as humans having free will. It's the will to believe anything we want. There is nobody who is like determining what we think. There's no one who can stop us from thinking certain things or believing certain things. Even if they don't have the same belief or they think we're cuckoo for believing those things, they can't stop us. That's free will. And that's what I think is so magical about being a human and why I think this manifestation game is so fun, because we get to decide on purpose what we want to think and what we want to believe. And the more we commit to those thoughts and practice those beliefs and lean into them, even if a part of our brain is questioning them, we can create new things. We can create an unbelievable life. That's how it's done. So I'm going to ask you, what do you want to believe? What are you going to commit to believing, even though you don't have the evidence yet? So us manifestors, guess what? We're paving the way. We're doing something new. It doesn't always feel super solid. It doesn't always feel super grounded, but that's where we can lean into a little bit of that uncertainty and into faith and into belief and into trust. And the more that we lean into those things, the better it's going to be. So if you can strengthen those muscles, you'll get really, really good at manifesting. All right. And I'm not going to sit here and say like faith and trust feel good. They don't. They don't feel good. It takes a lot of courage to do this and it takes a lot of commitment, but it's so worth it because you'll be blown away at what you can create. Okay. The second little piece of little info that I want to share with you or practice is the idea and thinking about and reflecting on this idea that the future is not real. Seriously, like the future is not real. It's not. All we have is actually right here, right now in this moment. That's all that's real. The future is just an imagination, right? It's just using our mind to project what's going to happen. And we can use our mind in a way that's positive and project something really amazing and use our imagination and imagine something epic. Or we can use our imagination in a negative way and worry, right? That's all worry is it's using the imagination to think about the future in a negative way. That's what worry is. All right. So my favorite, this thought, the future is not real for me, helps me come back whenever I'm thinking about like, oh, this is what's going to happen, or this is what's possible, or oh my gosh, this launch isn't going well. This is what's going to happen. Like our brain just so much wants to like see the now and decide that's what's possible for, what we're going to create. But I love reminding myself the future isn't real. I actually have no idea. But you know what I can do? Since I have free will and I have the opportunity to believe whatever I want, I can use my imagination for good. And I can imagine best case scenario. And I can look at that and feel that and decide that's what I want to create. And that's what I'm going for, no matter what. Right? So that's what I also encourage you to do is to start practicing using your imagination for good. Bring it to best case scenario, picture best case scenario. And you might want to, because our brains are not trained to do this on autopilot, our brain, again, is trained to do the path of least resistance, which is looking at what is or looking at our past to determine what's possible. I would recommend cultivating some like sacred time. It doesn't have to be long. It can be 5 minutes a day to paint the picture of what you want the future to be. So really direct your brain to go to best case scenario. So some of the things that I like to do, and I do this on a daily basis, is what would be amazing today? What would be so awesome if by the end of the day this happened? What do I want to create today? Who do I want to be? How do I want to feel today? Right? Get really intentional about who I want to be and how I want to show up today and what would be amazing about the day. Like if you paint that picture, your life is going to be so much better. I promise you, because since I've started this practice, my life has gotten so much better on a day-to-day basis. All right. And also, so that's super fun. Also scripting, which is just writing out what you want your future to look like writing a script, right? Because again, it's just using our imagination. It's just a projection. So it's like a projector screen watching a movie. You can choose the movie. So I really like to write it down, a script of like, ooh, this is the movie that I'm like acting in, that I'm playing the part in, that's coming up for me. This is what it's going to look like, and decide your future in advance, but in a way that you want it to go. Write it out. This is also why vision boards are super powerful. I am a fan of vision boards. Why am I a fan? Because I've been doing them for a long time and they come to life. They really do. When you do the practices and processes that I'm going to be teaching you throughout this podcast, you absolutely can make your vision boards manifest. But it does start with having a vision, right? So I highly recommend creating a vision board of like a future that is highly desirable, that feels like it would be so expansive and amazing and fun to live into. And I always like to think, the question I like to ask myself is, what gifts do I want to give the future self, the future me on my deathbed? Like, what do I want to experience in this lifetime? What would be totally amazing? And I create vision boards based upon that. It's like, that helps me align with my like highest values of like, who do I want to be in this lifetime? What do I want to experience? I got this one precious life. Ooh, what else haven't I done that I'm so excited to do? Put that on your vision board, script it out, start envisioning that, and start living into that future. So those are the practices. I'm so excited to hear what's to come as an effect of doing them. And I will, of course, be sharing lots more manifestation tips and ways of making these futures your reality. But step one is getting crystal clear on what you want, deciding what is the future that I want, and letting yourself envision that often. Cultivate that sacred time to bring your brain there, because on autopilot, it's not going to do it. All right? So excited. I will see you next week for another episode. Hey, thanks for listening. I hope this episode is something that you'll be able to add to your manifestation toolbox to come back to when you need a little extra motivation. If you like what you've heard today and want to take it deeper, you've got to come check out my signature coaching program, the Money Manifestation Movement. It's the place where you'll not only learn manifestation, but you'll begin to live it alongside me and an amazing community of like-minded entrepreneurs doing this work together. Head on over to jamieberman.com to learn more.